All right. Why don't we get started here? So my name is Patrick Corcoran. I'm going to kick things off today and speak for just a couple more minutes before I introduce our panelists. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be doing a session on Spreadsheet Server for NetSuite and how it can automate reports and increase data integrity, all within Excel. As you can see by my title here, I am the Enterprise Alliance Manager here at Global Software. After my brief introduction, we'll be hearing from Tom Kelly, who's a founding partner at Kamula 3 Group, and he'll be sharing his perspectives developed over a 25-year career on some of the challenges and pitfalls you may be facing and how Spreadsheet Server can help alleviate some of those. Following Tom's presentation, we'll have Caitlin Gill discussing, showing you a live Spreadsheet Server demo. So let's move right into this. So just a quick introduction to Global Software. We were founded in 1973. Our global headquarters is in Raleigh. We also have satellite offices in Seattle and New York, as well as a European, Middle East, and Asian office in London. Spreadsheet Server, our flagship product, is the number one Microsoft Excel-based automation solution for the worldwide NetSuite marketplace, as well as for over 100 other ERPs, general ledgers, and other tools. Currently, we have over 2,500 customers supported worldwide in 50-plus countries, and what this actually doesn't say is over 50,000 users worldwide. So what is Spreadsheet Server? Again, we'll be seeing a live demo in the next 10 or 15 minutes, but just from a bird's eye view, Spreadsheet Server gives you access to live data in any module within NetSuite, as well as any other data source. Doesn't require any intermediate data stores or warehouses. Spreadsheet Server doesn't require additional security. It works with your existing security. And finally, I can tell you this, with 10 years of experience, myself in the business intelligence space, Spreadsheet Server complements your existing BI implementation. No matter what tool you're using today, Spreadsheet Server gives you the ability to deliver data to every Excel user within your environment or your organization. So just following from that, Spreadsheet Server is a total solution. So starting with, again, the flagship product, which gives you access to live data within your ERP, within any number of disparate data sources. Additionally, the Distribution Manager feature allows you to automate and distribute reports to every Excel user within your environment. Finally, we have complementary tools such as Budget Accelerator, which allows you to streamline the budgeting process. Here's just a sampling of our customers, the more familiar names. You can see that they go across industries and verticals and organizational size, but one thing they all have in common is that they are happy Spreadsheet Server customers. So from here, I'm going to pass things off to Tom Kelly, who's going to show you a few slides on his experiences, and from there we will move on to a live demo. Tom?
Thank you, Patrick. So just again to reiterate, I'm with Kamula 3 Group. We're kind of a SaaS-based consultancy, so we do a lot of cloud-based work. And really what we're talking about here today is the combination of Spreadsheet Server and NetSuite. Next slide, please. So this is, you may have heard the story before if you're an accountant out there, and I'll get into this, but it's a beautiful picture, right, of a balloon floating across the sky, a farm field down below, and what really happens here is this is a video you can see that a fierce wind suddenly kicked up, and this balloon violently leaves the area and carrying the occupant out into the countryside, and it lands in this farmer's field below there. And the man's left with no clue how far he's flown or where. So he sees a man walking down the street, and he asks, he says, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me where I am?" So eyeing the man in the balloon, the passerby says, You're in a down balloon in a farmer's field. You must be an accountant, sir, replies the balloonist's unhappy resident, to which the man says, how could you possibly know that? Asks the passerby. The balloonist replies, because you have told me, what you have told me is absolutely correct, but it is absolutely no use to me now. So I start this out with that little joke from the past, if you will, if you've heard it before, but it pretty much rings true today because there's a lot of things that go on in business that really require, accountant is probably, has the wrong connotation. You're the business people, you're the language of the business, and we got to make sure that we're getting that information into the people's hands that want to make good decisions off of it. So let's go to the next slide. So what I think, organizations, finance, accounting, whatever you term yourselves, you need to start thinking about, the example I give is mission control. For those of you who've ever seen Apollo 13, you have this situation where, the folks in Houston know everything that's going on with the spacecraft and the people in it. And what you can do today by leveraging some of this technology, be it NetSuite and Spreadsheet Server or the combination of the two, is you could be a CFO or a finance organization that, you don't provide this confusing historical info anymore, because technically, think about it, with the cloud and the advent of what we can do and with certain technologies that might ride either on-premise or on your computer itself, you're really kind of outfitted with some of the capabilities that NASA's mission control has. So technically what we're talking about here is information in real time. As things change, as important information needs to get in the hands of the decision makers, it happens. And this information, for all of you who have ever surfed the internet, information is accessible 24/7, 365. And really when you get down to business or even the world in general, I would say information is really the key to what it's all about. Next slide, please. So here's a little fun thing. The New York Times said that more human beings today have access to a cell phone than the United Nations says has access to a clean toilet. And for those of us who are not in third world countries, as you can see there, the third photo, it seems that we're doing a pretty good job of combining both of those. So we're getting real-time information while we're using a toilet. So kudos to us in America. Next slide, please. So let's talk about really, some of the meat of the matter here, and that is the dreaded close, the monthly close. And I have a picture of the Grim Reaper here. And, it kind of is like that because folks that have gone through this time and time again, it can be a drudgery. And in many regards, it's this monthly close, and I'll talk a little bit about a way of viewing it differently, that I think really is kind of the misguided approach to how a finance organization should be working. So it really shouldn't be the type of thing in my mind that you're doing, once a month or once a quarter when you do quarterlies or once a year when you do year end. You kind of need to make it a process, no different than when somebody's going to buy a product from you. You're going to, pack it, ship it, collect the money. It's a process. And when we think about that monthly close, I would argue you should think about it as a process. So if we go to the next slide. So you can see I say nonstop 24/7, 365. Now, when I brought this topic up, some people said, I see why you had the Grim Reaper photo before, because I'm going to be closing the books 24/7, 365. I'm going to be dead because it is not an easy task. But the point I want to make is when you use and leverage some of these cloud technologies, both in terms of helping you with the transactions, and in addition to that, helping you get that information, put in a matter by which it is easily accessible, accurate, real time, so it's not historical in nature. If you take this orientation to it, so the examples I'll give you are, take a bank rec as an example. And you can, with a lot of these features that certain applications provide, you could literally do a bank reconciliation on a daily basis. And while small to mid-sized companies maybe don't have the horsepower that larger companies do, or larger companies have an entire treasury department that, believe it or not, day in or day out are determining whether they're long on cash or short on cash, and they're either borrowing daily or they're investing daily. So what I'm really talking about here is there are many features and functions that are accessible for all companies, large and small, that really can allow you to do this type of thing where you're literally closing the books every day. And when you think about that, if you can make that a process and you go through you'll start to find that you'll find things that you can improve upon, even from something as simple as cutting a check. And I don't want to go off on that rant right now, but It's mind-boggling to me how many companies still use paper checks when electronic payment systems are out there and very cost-effective. So the concept of a nonstop 24/7, 365-day close, yeah, kind of the dreaded close with the Grim Reaper, but it's more about a process mindset, orienting yourself towards processing the business every day and kind of getting away from the concept of it's a monthly close. So, next slide, please. So let's talk about this a little bit more in detail. So the 24/7, 365-day close, really what I'm getting at there is if you tend to do this, you can have lengthy cycles for roll-ups of your financial results when you have more than one entity. And usually when you're doing that, you can lack some visibility into some of the financials and the data, that financial data. And then you get into the argument where people can lack confidence in what that data is showing. And if you don't do this on a day-in and day-out basis, think about this in anything you've done in your life. The more you can make something a habit, the more easy it is, the more intuitive it becomes. So the error-prone nature of some of the time-consuming manual processes or lengthy, more than a week or a month process really lends itself to be, error-prone. And then the other piece, too, you have to think about is being able to deliver information that's not siloed. There's a more 360 view of what's going on with the organization. So having a perspective for not only the data and the financial data, but what I would consider, metrics, units of measure, whether it's units sold or number of days to close a sale. Things like that can be very impactful for an organization, and you need to think about that and encapsulate that as you provide the information. I'm going to get away from the monthly close comments. So ultimately what you're really trying to drive for is kind of a more simplified accounting close process. And if you do this on a day-in and day-out basis, as I mentioned, you will have a very complete audit trail that makes the auditors happy, and you will expedite your reporting because you have the information ready to go on a real-time basis. Next slide, please. So let me talk to you about kind of a situation that I ran into, and I've done this several times now, where you have a board of directors. If you're a public company or you're one that has a board of director meetings every quarter, you and the financial group really know that you're putting together a board deck every 3 months, and it is quite the effort. You can imagine putting it together, PowerPoint, whatever. So one of the things you can do is if you can leverage something like Spreadsheet Server, you can actually provide the board of directors, the members, with their own access, and they can go in there and look at a dashboard. They can drill down, and God forbid, but what you'll start to find is they can become a little bit more proactive, and they might even answer some of their own questions. So when you get to the board meeting, we're not spending a lot of time arguing about the information and how the information has been put together. Is it right or wrong? There might be some questions that you can answer before the board meeting or in the board meeting, and you're not having to explain the information. It's already somewhat internalized by the audience, that being the board and key managers within the organization. So finally, the next slide. So I'm wondering if this is you. Here's Samuel Jackson from the Pulp Fiction days, and as he would say, go ahead, he would say that one more time. So in this case, I'm saying, ask me if the books are closed one more time. This is by all means, I've never been like this, not at all. I've always been cool, calm, and collected. But so if this is you, let's see what we can do to make some better information available to the key stakeholders. And with that, let's see how that Spreadsheet Server combined with NetSuite can help you do that. So I'll turn it back over to Patrick now.
Tom, thank you. I really like this slide. So as promised, we're going to move on now to Caitlin Gill, who's going to show us the product in action. So just give me a moment while I pass things over to her.
Okay, great. Thanks, Patrick. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Wonderful. Okay, folks, so now we'll walk through and see the product in action, and I think you guys are really going to be excited about what you see today. So I'll go ahead and share my desktop with you. Your screen should transition to an Excel spreadsheet, and once we are there, we will go ahead and get started. So Patrick, if you could just give me the heads up that you are seeing that spreadsheet.
Yep, we've got you. Looks good.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right, folks, so as we talked about in those wonderful slides, what Spreadsheet Server is truly designed to do is provide you guys, the folks that are building reports, putting data into Excel, having to manually rekey, re-enter information with real-time data in a spreadsheet. So this tool will allow you to start and end your day in Microsoft Excel. Spreadsheet Server itself is an Excel add-in, so you can see it's installed where Excel is installed. What we're looking at here on the screen is truly just an Excel spreadsheet, so not Excel-like, not Excel-ish, this is truly Excel. But what makes this spreadsheet exceptional is that live and dynamic connection to NetSuite. So when I open up this report and I change a parameter like a period, you'll notice that all of the data in the report is refreshing. So I build my report one time in Microsoft Excel, and every time I need to see the updated numbers, all I have to do is open that report, change a period, and I've got that real-time data at my fingertips. So that's pretty powerful stuff. We have 2,500 clients worldwide, over 50,000 users of this product that can't live without real-time data in Excel. But if you polled our end users and asked them the most important features to them of Spreadsheet Server, they would say not only is seeing real-time data important, but being able to look at the details behind the numbers is equally important. So what Spreadsheet Server also gives you the capability to do is drill down. So if I have a question about a number in this report, let's say my employee expenses, I don't have to go back to NetSuite. What I can do right here within Spreadsheet Server is drill down and take a look at the detail behind that number. So I can immediately see the detailed balances. I can sort those in ascending or descending order, or I can take it down to the next level and drill to the journal entry detail. So this will allow me to actually take it down, see the next level of detail, analyze those journal entries as soon as they're posted to NetSuite. As I'm doing my analysis, I can not only just view that drill down detail, but if I wanted to push it into my spreadsheet, I also have that capability. So I can drill into that panel that you just saw, or I can drill into another worksheet. And what this does is it creates a new tab in my report with that drill down detail. This is fantastic for auditing, for reconciliation purposes. If you need to respond to a particular inquiry, boom, you have that information right in your spreadsheet and you can send it off to anyone that needs to see it. We can even do what we call a multi-cell drill down. So I can highlight multiple columns and drill down. And what this will show me in the drill down panel are the detailed balances for both columns as well as a variance column to where I can compare the two on the fly. So whether I'm creating a standard income statement, doing financial reporting, maybe looking at order information, maybe doing a dashboard, I can build any and all of these reports one time in Excel. Once I build the reports, they are live and dynamic, so all I have to do is open this spreadsheet when I need to look at real-time detail. So from this point, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how we would actually build one of these reports, because it's great to look at the end product, but what a lot of our end users want to know is, can I actually do this, or do I need to go to my IT staff every time I need to ask for a report? So that's what we're trying to alleviate. We're trying to empower your end users to be able to build these reports on their own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a new tab into my report. And I'll open up my Spreadsheet Server Build a Template Wizard, and this is what we use to get started. So I'll select NetSuite as the system that I'm connecting to. Within this Build a Template Wizard, this is what is going to assist us in setting up formulas in Excel, and those formulas will retrieve real-time balances. So Spreadsheet Server is completely formula-driven. The GXL formulas that you see on the left side of the screen are a part of our product. What these formulas are doing, like many Excel formulas, they need parameters to set the conditions for the selection of data that's coming from NetSuite. So in the center of the screen, you'll see those parameters. Now take a close look. When you do that, you'll notice that these are accounting parameters. They're not technical. So we're not expecting the end users to be familiar with files or fields or tables in the NetSuite database. So everyone can take a big sigh of relief here. You don't have to be technical. You don't have to write SQL code to use Spreadsheet Server. All you're doing is identifying here in this Build a Template Wizard things like your balance type. So we're going to look at actuals. We would identify our starting year. So we'll say 2004. We would identify our format. So we'll say period. and our starting period. Our account segments can be placed on the row or the column, so it's completely up to me how I set up this report. And then you have these nice lookup windows. So if I wanted to look up my subsidiary, my department, my class, my location, my account number, I can use these nice lookup windows to look up those fields. I don't have to memorize them. In my case, I'm just going to leave all of these as a wildcard except for the account number. So we're going to look at account number 4100 to get started. And then from here, folks, all I have to do is click Insert. When I click Insert, that formula will be set up within my spreadsheet. So Spreadsheet Server is doing all of my syntaxing and cell referencing for me, returning a balance that I could immediately drill down on to take a look at the details behind that number. And then from here, I'm just using Excel to build out the report. So what I'm going to do at this point is take row 16 and I'm going to copy that down a couple rows. In column A, I can now start identifying the accounts I'd like to look at. So if I wanted to look at account 4000, I could identify that account number. You'll notice as soon as I change the account number to 4000, it's going to update that balance. On the next line, I might look at maybe account 4200. Or I might want to see a range of accounts. So we'll say maybe 4130 to 4500. Or I could use a wildcard. So if I wanted to look at all accounts that begin with 46, I can use 46 with an asterisk.
Oh. Hey, Caitlin, did we lose you?
Oh, no, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
We might have lost you just for a moment there.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, well, glad I'm back. I might have just cut out for a second. Okay, so from here, we'll just continue to actually use Excel to build out the report. So again, we've used ranges, wildcards, lots of different options here. And one of the other really neat options that you can utilize within Spreadsheet Server is building what we call segment lists. So the segment lists are a really neat feature. What this allows us to do is set up groups of, in this case, accounts that we can utilize when we're building a report. So I've got an account set up here for my other expenses for NetSuite. So within my report, what I would do is just identify the list name. So I'm going to give that list a name. So we'll call it ONSEXP. And then I would add values to that list. So I'm going to add a range of accounts, and I'll exclude an account from within that range. So the benefit of me doing this is now when I need to report on my other expenses, what I would do is just identify the caret symbol and the list name. And those values are automatically pulled into the report. So you'll notice when I drill down, I can immediately see those values. And then from here, I'll just continue to use Excel to build out the report. So now I can summarize my column. Again, just using Excel features and functionality. We'll use our auto sum here. We'll do a little formatting. And then what I'll do is I'll take column C, and I'm going to copy that across a couple columns. Now I can change my parameters on the column. So I can change the period. I might want to see a roll-up for the first quarter. So now I can change my format from period to quarter. Or if I wanted to look at budget instead of actual, I can change my balance type from A to B. I can also add Excel formulas here. So if I wanted to set up a variance where I'm comparing periods 3 and 4, I can just set up that formula in Excel and then just copy that Excel formula down. So from here, I might do a little formatting within Excel, so we can add some colors, charts and graphs, that's all just Excel functionality, so I can build those in here as I go. So I know it's not the prettiest report you guys have ever seen, but within a couple of minutes, we're well on our way to setting up that Excel spreadsheet. Getting from here to something that looks a little nicer like my income statement is really just utilizing Excel to add the colors and the charts and the graphs that you'd like. But once you have your finished product, again, remember that your report is completely live and dynamic. So you build it one time, and then from that point forward, all you're doing is opening up the report, changing a period, changing a date, and everything's updating dynamically. So now that we have walked you through some features and functionality, walked through building a template, I wanted to pause for just a second, Pat, and see if there are any questions that have come in at this point.
Not yet, no.
Okay. Well, keep thinking of those questions, guys, and again, feel free if you do have questions to type them into the chat window, and we'll answer those as we go. But what we'll do from here is we'll move forward to Distribution Manager. So we can walk through, once you've built a report, how you actually get that report out to everyone else in your organization that needs to see it. So again, great to have a summary level report, but what if you have to get this report out to 100 departments every month? What a pain that could be, to have to recreate this, email it, send it to a shared file location. And that's what a lot of folks that use this tool struggle with, is not even necessarily building reports, but then getting those reports out. So Distribution Manager, again, comes in to save the day here. So it's going to allow you to, from this spreadsheet, get the reports out to everyone that needs to see them. So I've got this report. It's looking at all departments, and now I need to send this off to all of the departments that need to see the report for their department specifically. So insert Distribution Manager. So Spreadsheet Server has a distribution tool called Distribution Manager. When you're ready to set up a distribution list, you would create a new control sheet, and that's going to add this additional tab to our report and give us this promptable window where we can define first how we'd like to send reports out. So we have the option of sending out to SharePoint, to an email, to a shared file location. You can also send to a printer. I was talking to a client, and he calls this sneaker net. So he prints reports, and then he runs them around and drops them on the desks of everyone that needs to see them. So you certainly have that option of printing. We're not going to take that away, but there are more efficient ways to do things. So we'll start with email. Let's say I wanted to email a report. Well, this is going to link right up with my Outlook address book, so it's going to make it very easy for me to find exactly who I need to send these emails to. So we'll say I want to send this out to David Murphy, and then I'm going to compose the email. So from here, we'll say, here's the report. I'm going to give it a really interesting subject as well, just to make sure I really get his attention here. And then on the miscellaneous tab, I have some password protection options. So I can give the workbook a password to be opened or modified. I can also add attachments to the workbook. So if I wanted to send this report out with another document, I could certainly do that. More importantly here, if I just have some document that I need to distribute in my organization, you can use Distribution Manager to send to anything. So it doesn't have to be a Spreadsheet Server report. You can set up a distribution list for a document about your holiday party. So you can really use this for anything. Back on the General tab, I then can choose my file type. So a lot of folks are sending reports that need to be viewed by mobile devices these days. So you can convert the report to HTML or PDF, so that way it can easily be viewed on a mobile device. You could also send the report in Excel format or Word format. If you convert to anything other than Excel, it would automatically make the report static, so it's no longer going to have that drill down capability. If I send the document as an Excel file, I can also send a static Excel file. So I can choose Convert Formulas to Values, which does the same thing as Excel's Copy Paste Special. It's just going to replace the formulas with values in the report. This is beneficial because now we're extending the use of Spreadsheet Server to other people in the organization that do not have Spreadsheet Server licenses. We can send these reports out to anyone and everyone that needed a report without them being a Spreadsheet Server user, because we can convert those reports to values. Pretty powerful stuff. But the greatest feature of Distribution Manager is this next feature that we're about to go through, the Modify Cells option, because this allows us to change the report based on who we're sending it to. So hold on to your seats, guys. This is really exciting. So I'm sending this report out to David. And David is in Department 410. Currently, my report is looking at all departments. So what I'm going to do is I will modify the income statement. I'm going to modify cell C12, which holds the value for department, and I'm going to change that department value to 200. Oh, wait, 410. So what this is going to do at the time of distribution is push this value into cell C12, converting the report to look at that department specifically. So now I'm sending David a report for his department from this single template. So I don't have to have these workbooks that have 100 tabs anymore. I can have a single workbook that's being modified as it's going out. I can also specify which worksheets I'd like to send. So if I wanted to maybe only send David the income statement and the income statement drill down report, I can add those 2 worksheets so he's not receiving all of these other reports that I have in my workbook. And then what I'm going to do is push that next line out to Excel and continue to build my distribution list. So now I'm going to go back and say, okay, I also want to send this report to Candy. And we'll say for Candy, I want to send her the same report, but I want to send it for Department 420. So I'll change that department, push that next line out to Excel. And from here, I will go back and add another recipient. So we'll say I want to send this out to Becky. And we'll say Becky is not on the finance side, but she needs to see my dashboard and order report. So I'm going to send her completely different reports, my order information report and my dashboard. And I might also want to send this out to a shared file location. So I'm going to browse out to my Y drive and I'll push this into, we'll see whose folder pops up here. But you can push it out to a shared file location. Oftentimes, I like to use this feature to send a copy of the report to myself. So I can just save a snapshot in time of that report. But I'm going to push this into Beth's folder, and we'll say Beth needs, we're going to go back, and we'll say Beth needs the dashboard as well. So I'm going to send that report to her. So I set up this distribution list one time. I have all of my recipients defined. I have reports going out via email, some going out to shared file locations. As I mentioned earlier, you can also use SharePoint. But I build this list once. And then when I need to send reports out, it's so simple. All I have to do is hit Distribute All. And at that point in time, everyone on the list will receive a file, an email, or a file in a shared file location with their reports and their information. So next month, all I have to do is open up my spreadsheet, change the period, go back to my distribution list, kick it off, and those reports will go out to everyone on that list again. And to make it even easier, you can schedule the distribution. So we have clients, an example that always comes to mind is Trader Joe's. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that grocery store chain. They have a report that's called a Retail Stock Ledger Report, and it goes out to all of their 400 stores on a monthly basis. They use Spreadsheet Server. So they have now created that report, a single template. They have a distribution list that goes out to 400 stores, each one of the store managers, with that report for their store. This was a process that took them close to 2 weeks, and now it's being completed in a couple hours. But when you are sending reports out to 200, 300, 400 people, like many of our clients do, it may make sense to schedule that distribution so you can set up the emails to go out before or after hours. So the Profile Scheduler will allow you to set up the distribution on a schedule. You can select a start date. So if I wanted to have them go out, let's say every Monday, I can select the start date. I'll select the start time, 5 a.m., so everyone knows that I'm in the office at 5 getting all my work done, when in fact I'm really just drinking coffee. And then I can set up the automated schedule. I can have them go out daily, hourly, weekly, or monthly. And then it's completely hands-off. So like I said, I can be sitting home having my morning coffee, and all those emails will go out from me at 5 a.m. with those reports. So wildly beneficial if you're doing a lot of distribution today. Also extending the use of your Spreadsheet Server licenses to get those reports out to everyone that needs to see them. Okay, so I'm going to pause again for a second here, and Pat, have there been any other questions that have come in that we can address?
Yeah, so as soon as you asked last time, 2 popped in. So first question is, we have a user who's invested significant time in existing Excel reports. They are asking if they would have to redo all of those reports in Excel if they move to Spreadsheet Server.
Great question, and the answer is absolutely not. We certainly wouldn't want you to do that. And so this product has actually been around for quite a long time. We built it for our own general ledger close to over 15 years ago. And what we found in those over 15 years of training our 2,500 clients worldwide is that most folks use Excel, and most folks have reports in Excel. So while we have templates that we can provide, what most of our users prefer to do is use their existing templates as a starting point. So you guys saw me build this report from scratch, and you saw me place that formula into a blank spreadsheet. Well, I can do the same thing, placing our formula into an existing Excel report. So what we do when we come on site to train you is we do a report building workshop. That workshop for an end user is typically 2 days. The first half day we spend teaching you about the formulas and how to use them. The second day and a half is report building. We're working with your existing reports, teaching you how to build reports, and most of our clients walk away with a report that's built by the end of that training, as well as the knowledge of how to build reports on their own moving forward. So to answer your question directly, we love that you have lots of Excel reports. That is fantastic to us because that means that you'll have to do less work in building reports. We'll just use those as a starting point and make them live and dynamic, bringing them to life with our Spreadsheet Server formulas.
Excellent. And you actually, you answered the second question there too. Somebody asked, do I need training? How long does training generally take? Do you want to just address that a little bit more? Broadly, I think
sure.
The question is mostly answered.
Yes, absolutely. So again, we have different trainings for different types of users, and we have different license types of Spreadsheet Server that we can certainly discuss in the course of this webinar as well. But for our 2 training options, we have what's called a gold training and a platinum training. Most of your users will be gold users, and what that means is they're report builders. And so that training is 2 days for the gold users. And as I mentioned, we do a lot of report building in the training that's part of the workshop, taking your existing reports, automating them, and teaching you how to use our formulas. We do have an additional license type called a platinum user, and that would be someone who, outside of the pre-configured content we offer with Spreadsheet Server for NetSuite, would want to build custom queries. So we have a different license type that comes with a designer that would allow that user to do some custom query design, and that training is typically 3 days. Because it's a little bit more extensive. They're learning a new piece of the puzzle, which we haven't gotten into here today, and that would be if they wanted to connect to databases outside of NetSuite and build queries on those systems. We would teach them how to do that with our query designer. So that's a 3-day training.
Excellent. Thank you, Caitlin. Okay. So does that, I apologize. Does that wrap up our demo?
Yep. The last piece that I wanted to show in the demonstration that we really didn't touch on is just the ability to really build any type of report. So I did have a dashboard here that I just wanted to show real quick to highlight the fact that if you are using any databases outside of NetSuite, Spreadsheet Server can be used to report on those as well. So in this report, I'm actually pulling data from 3 different sources. I've got sales information coming from one database, AR from a separate, and then my AP information from a third. And you'll notice in this report, I can drill into any and all of those. So I can look at my sales. I can look at my customers that are past due. I can look at my AP information. I can drill in on any of these areas all from a single spreadsheet. So I just wanted you guys to know that Spreadsheet Server capabilities do extend beyond NetSuite. If you are using anything outside of NetSuite, we could connect to that as well. But that is pretty much the extent of the demo for today, so I will pass controls back to you guys and let you take it away with any additional questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caitlin. So, one of the things I would like to send all of you away with today is just some tangible results that Spreadsheet Server has delivered. Earlier, I showed you a slide with a bunch of existing customers, a bunch of customer kind of success stories. This kind of puts into context the savings in terms of man hours, or you could translate that into expenses. Here with Clark County Water Reclamation District, that is a tongue twister, saved over $91,000 in their first year. We can see back up at the top, Nanometrics saved over 160 hours per year with Spreadsheet Server. And the list here just goes on. Again, one of the reasons I'm sharing this last is that I'd like to send each of you away with an idea of here's what you could be doing with Spreadsheet Server. We do have one more quick question here, and that was outside of NetSuite, what other ERPs do you support? One of the easiest ways to find out what systems are supported would be to visit our website at Global Software Inc. We do support all of the major ERPs and general ledger tools, but also, as I said earlier on, over 100 solutions and more coming on a regular basis. So don't hesitate to send out an email. My email address is right here. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about whether or not your system is supported or any other questions. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I hope this session was educational and informative for you, and I hope to hear from many of you in the future. Thank you.